Hello fellow RCers, rock crawlers. This is the video that I promised you I would make on the modifications on my HB-P1003. That's one hell of a title, so I'll shorten that to the HB. There are two or three companies that produce this car under different manufacturers' names, but they all come out of the same Chinese factory, I think, and they are supposed to look. It's a rip-off, if you want to call it that, of the Axial Wraith. Although the Axial Wraith is a little bit bigger than this. These cars are about the same. I think they're about the same size as the SCX-10, the Axial SCX-10, but they're still quoted or classed as being 1/10 scale. But as you can see, I've made a few modifications to mine. You will hear me quoting toy grade and hobby grade throughout my videos, and I should imagine we all know what that means. But for those of you that don't, toy grade basically is a shop bought RTR or ready to run toy classed radio control car or whatever type of vehicle, and the hobby grade is the top end of the scale, like an Axial Wraith, where you're talking cars that could be £500 or more for like the rolling chassis almost. And I've seen rock crawlers that are over £1,000. But anyway, this is the toy grade one, and I bought it specifically when I saw it come up on eBay. Actually, I had to have one because I've been thinking about buying a rock crawler for some time, just a budget one, because I have raced RC cars in the past and spent a lot of money on them. Well, I didn't want to do that this time. I just wanted a budget rock crawler, and this is what this is. I had ideas what parts I wanted to get for it. I was going to do one big video to show you everything I'd done, but that would take ages to upload, and it would take you a long time to sit and watch it from start to finish. So I'm going to do the separate areas that I have modified in separate videos. Anyway, today's one is all about the suspension or the shocks, because I've had a bit of interest in those. So anyway, these shocks are as close as I could get to what they call King shocks, which you see people putting on as an aftermarket upgrade on their Axial Wraiths and other cars as well. But I did make a couple of mistakes. First of all, I looked up on eBay King shocks, and they are the piggyback shocks. They have this extra bit on here, and basically that is just a reservoir for helping keep the oil cool. On the full-sized versions of these cars, the oil in the shocks, as you can imagine, is working very hard, and it gets overheated, and it's basically an expansion tank for the oil in the shock. Anyway, I saw these King shocks, I looked them up on eBay, and they were £45 just for a pair, and I thought there's no way I was going to get £45 or spend £90 on a set of shocks for my budget rock crawler. I mean, I didn't tell you before, but I saw this on eBay, just the car, the transmitter and the battery and the charger. I got mine for £35 English pounds, and I wasn't going to spend £90 on a set of shocks. So I went back on eBay, and I started looking on eBay for piggyback shocks, which is what these are called, and loads came up, and I looked and looked, and eventually I saw these ones, which are pretty close looking actually to the King shocks, and these were on eBay. They were, I think they were £24.99. So I had to have them. So I hit buy it now, and I had to have them. Again, these were from China, but I don't mind waiting for parts like this to come from China if I think they're good enough and they do the job. And basically, on my budget rock crawler, that's all I wanted. But I did make a couple of mistakes. Firstly, I didn't realise that these actually are the 120mm shocks from eye to eye, and the standard shocks which come off this car are, I think they're only about 90mm, something like that. So I had to make a couple of modifications so that they would fit. They do bolt straight on the car, but you end up with it, if I can get it to do it, it will sit more like that, which, as you can see, is way too high. It was too high for me anyway. So, like I say, I made a couple of modifications. I lowered the mounting points at the bottoms of the shocks, and I've also bought a lowering kit, which you bolt on the struts at the top, and then you can mount the shocks up a little bit higher so it drops the ride height of the car. But as you can see, you have to make some modifications, and up the front you have to make more modifications than the back. The back is more or less a straight bolt on. As you can see, I'll show you in here. You can see the mount there, which is, I made these spacers out of a bit of aluminium tube, and I had the nuts and bolts, and I got this lowering kit, which is basically just the plates, again off of eBay, and that was only £2.99. I've been looking at these lowering kits, and the cheapest ones I could see before were about £8 or £9, but these ones were £2.99 just for the plates. And basically what you do is in here you have to cut off the bit of plastic which goes out sideways here, and these plates just bolt straight on, as you can see where I bolted them on here, and put the aluminium spacer on and put your nut and bolt straight through, and you're all connected. You can see the other one on the side there as well. Look. But there we are. So with those on there, I'll just show you what I've done up the front. And it involves me removing the hood, so like I say, I made a couple of mistakes with these shocks. The one was the length, which in actual fact has worked out okay for me, because I quite like them having them longer, because you get slightly better articulation in the suspension travel. So that wasn't a problem. And of course I got the lowering kit, which made it easier for it to go on as well. But once I take that off now, in here you can see the mounting plates, or the shock lowering kit, as I said. It's this bit here and over here. But what you do have to do is, where the original shock mounted, there's a flat piece of plastic just like at the back that you have to cut off to put these plates on, and then you can mount your shocks onto them. And the same the other side. And what I did, the spare bit of aluminium tube that I had left over, I cut it to the right size, and I mounted it between the two screws that came through from either side, and that acts just like a stiffener, just for the front end, to stop the suspension under impact, just moving about too much. As you can see in the background there's my battery, but I'll do that on another video, talk about that. But that is the suspension set up at the moment. The other mistake I made with these shocks is that they do come ready-made. They're all, you don't have to put them together or anything, they're all bolted together. They're made up shocks when they come in the post, and they don't even come with any instructions. You can just literally bolt them straight to your car. But what I did was I opened one of the shocks up and I got some lossy 30 weight oil, because I was going to put the oil in them. And when I opened it up, there was a little bit of oil in there which I thought was put in there during their manufacture just to keep them lubricated. And when I put the oil in, and I've made oil filled shocks quite a few times before, stripped them down and rebuilt them in the past. When I put the oil in one of these, the first one, I made sure I got all the air out, all the oxygen out of it, by doing it all very carefully and everything. But when I put the cap on and tried compressing the shock, it didn't want to move. So my only guess really is that these shocks, even though it didn't say anywhere, is they are supposed to be used without oil in them, only a very, very small amount to keep the piston lubricated. And that is how I've got them on here. And I mean, they are fine. There's very good damping action in there, and there's no oil in these shocks at all, like I say, apart from a little bit just to keep the piston moving. And but that is that. Like I say, these shocks were on eBay for £24.99 for all four, and I can't grumble at that on my budget rock crawler. I mean, I think that's an excellent price. And now with the lowering kit on there, as you'll probably see from my couple of initial previous videos, short videos, that it now sits a lot lower, a bit like I would expect an actual Wraith to possibly sit, because I didn't want it sitting too high before, because it gets very top heavy. Also, I haven't done any crawling videos with this car yet, because I'm still waiting on sorting the tyres out. These are the bog standard tyres that you get, the stock tyres, and I want to get better tyres than that because they're a bit hard, but I'll go on to that another time. This video is mainly about the suspension, or the shocks. Still, I hope I've covered everything that you might want to know with these. As you can see there, I'll try and give you a bit of a close-up of the mounting. I had to cut off part of the frame here that came out and came round and sort of joined up at the back over here because of this setup here. And of course the flat piece of plastic that I mentioned a little while ago, I had to cut that off to make it flat so that these plates could fit on. And as you can see, the shock mounts in the top of the plate here, and at the bottom here there's a nut and bolt that goes through here, and the back of that bolt slots into this alloy tube, same as on the other side. So I hope that helps anybody out there that wants to put aftermarket shocks on their HB cars. You can see the tops of the ones at the back there as well. Anyway, if you want to see more videos on the other upgrades and modifications I've done on my car, please subscribe, hit the like button. The video will get spread around a bit better and more people will see it. Anyway, that's it for now. See you all again next time.